Biomed Nexus daily updates. Your essential biotech, medtech, and pharma recap. No noise, just what matters. Executive takeaway. The 2026 MDA Clinical and Scientific Conference kicks off today in Orlando, serving as the first real-world test of the Macquarie-era regulatory posture on gene therapy. Meanwhile, Friday delivered a cascade of sector-defining news. Vinay Prasad announced his departure from CBER, effective end of April. Servier unveiled a $2.5 billion acquisition of Day One Biopharmaceuticals. Lonza completed its transformation into a pure-play CDMO with a $3 billion divestiture, and Medtronic's MiniMed began trading after a $560 million IPO that priced well below expectations. Zealand Pharma's petrelintide Phase 2 data showed placebo-like tolerability but modest weight loss, setting up a strategic pivot toward combination therapy with Roche. Read full analysis, what to watch. This week MDA Conference, March 8 to 11, Orlando. Sarepta will present 3-year EMBARK data for Elevidys in a late-breaking oral presentation, the most anticipated readout of the conference. Watch for whether functional stabilization data justifies the durability thesis that payers require. BridgeBio and other gene therapy sponsors will also present, making this the critical moment of truth for 2026 neuromuscular pipelines. CBER leadership. Transition. Prasad's announced April departure leaves a 2-month window of uncertainty. Watch for signals on whether recent rare disease rejections, Unicor, Capricor, Ultragenyx, might be revisited under new leadership, or whether the stringent posture is now institutionalized. MiniMed trading. Following Friday's weak IPO debut, priced at $20 versus $25-28 odd range, the market will test whether the standalone diabetes pure play can stabilize against ongoing GLP-1 headwinds. ACIP meeting, March 18 to 19. The first meeting with newly appointed Drs. Sean Downing and Angelina Farella will signal whether the committee shifts toward individualized pediatric vaccine guidelines. Week ahead. Calendar. March 8 to 11, MDA Conference, Orlando, Sarepta. 3-year Elevidys data, gene therapy sector catalyst. March 9, MiniMed IPO closes. Trading continues after week debut. March 18th to 19, ACIP meeting, first with new Kennedy-aligned appointees. Late March, Google The Checkup. CVS, Google Health 100 platform details expected. End of April, Prasad departs. CBER, leadership transition begins. Top story MDA Conference. 2026 opens with focus on neuromuscular gene therapy. What's happening? The Muscular Dystrophy Association Clinical and Scientific Conference officially opens today at the Hilton, Orlando. The agenda features a record number of gene therapy tracks and industry-sponsored presentations. Why it matters. This conference represents the proving ground for 2026 neuromuscular pipelines. With Sarepta scheduled to present 3-year EMBARK data and multiple sponsors showcasing long-term safety analyses, the data presented over the next 72 hours will determine whether surrogate biomarkers, like microdystrophin, are translating into the durable motor function preservation that payers demand. Key presentations to watch. Sarepta. Late-breaking oral on Elevidys 3-year data versus external control. Caregiver reported outcomes through 2 years. Pooled 7. 5-year safety data across Sarepta's gene therapy portfolio. Real-world exon-skipping survival data. Executive impact. The conference arrives at a pivotal moment. Sarepta's NOV 2025 label update added a boxed warning for serious liver injury and removed the non-ambulatory indication. The company must demonstrate that treated patients show meaningful, sustained functional benefit to support the therapy's long-term commercial trajectory. Friday, recap, major developments, March the 6th. Prasad announces April departure from CBER. What happened? FDA Commissioner Marty Makary confirmed that Vinay Prasad will leave his role as CBER director at the end of April, returning to his academic position at UCSF. The context. While framed as the planned conclusion of a one-year sabbatical, the timing is notable. Prasad's tenure saw increased scrutiny of rare disease therapies, with at least 5 cell and gene therapy rejections that experts believe could have received approval under previous leadership, e.g., the Unicore Huntington's Phase 3 demand. What it means. The rare disease and gene therapy sectors may see a recalibration of CBER's posture, though it remains unclear whether recent stringent decisions will be revisited or have become permanent institutional policy. Servier acquires Day One Biopharmaceuticals for $2.5 billion. What happened? Servier announced a definitive agreement to acquire Day One Biopharmaceuticals, Dawn, for $21.50 per share in cash, a 68% premium over the prior closing price. The deal is expected to close in Q2 2026. Why it matters. The acquisition centers on Ojemda, tovorafenib, the first and only FDA-approved type 2 RAF inhibitor for pediatric low-grade glioma, PLGG. Servier is building a glioma franchise, pairing Ojemda with its existing IDH mutant therapy, Voranigo. Executive impact. This is the year's second-largest biotech acquisition, trailing Gilead, Arcellx. It reinforces premium valuations for genetically defined oncology assets with established commercial traction. Lonza completes transformation with $3 billion CHI divestiture. What happened? Lonza entered a definitive agreement to divest its capsules and health ingredients CHI business to Lone Star Funds for an enterprise value of $3 billion CHF2. 3B, Lonza will receive 2B upfront and retain a 40% stake. Why it matters. The transaction completes Lonza's strategic transformation into a pure-play CDMO, focusing exclusively on integrated biologics, advanced synthesis, and specialized modalities. MiniMed IPO prices. Below range, weak trading. Debut, what happened? MiniMed Group, the Medtronic Diabetes spin-off, raised $560 million in its IPO at $20 per share, well below the $25-28 marketed range. Shares closed Friday down 8% from the IPO price at $18.49. Why it matters. The weak reception signals intense investor skepticism about standalone diabetes device companies amid the GLP-1 halo effect, reshaping metabolic disease treatment. Sanofi exits, Brazil. Generics with Medley sale, what happened? Sanofi agreed to sell its Medley generics unit to Brazil's EMS for more than $500 million. Why it matters. The sale continues Sanofi's play-to-win strategy of shedding non-core, low-margin assets to support its pivot toward innovative therapies following recent acquisitions of Vigil Neuroscience, Blueprint Medicines, and Dynavax. Oncology and Rare Disease AstraZeneca, ODAC scheduled. Milestone. The FDA confirmed it will convene the Oncologic Drugs Advisory Committee, ODAC, on April 30th to review AZ's camizestrant, oral SERD, and a new indication for Truqap, capivasertib. This will be the first drug-related advisory committee meeting since July 2025, ending a 9-month hiatus. Sandoz, GLP-1 biosimilar play. Strategy. Announced a strategic push into the off-patent GLP-1 market in Canada and Brazil, positioning for long-term biosimilar opportunities as primary metabolic patents begin to expire globally. Clinical and research updates. Zealand Pharma petrelintide Phase 2. Data. Reported that petrelintide achieved a 7% mean weight reduction at 42 weeks versus 7% for placebo in the Zupreme-1 trial. While below GLP-1 benchmarks, the drug demonstrated placebo-like tolerability with no vomiting and no GI-related discontinuations at the maximally effective dose. The strategic pivot. Zealand and partner Roche are positioning petrelintide as a tolerability-first alternative and a combination partner. A Phase 2 trial combining petrelintide with Roche's CT388 GLP-1 GIP dual agonist will initiate in H1 2026. Zimmer Biomet AAOS data. Data presented smart knee data at AAOS showing patients with Persona IQ implants, and the MyMobility platform had revision rates of 0.3% versus 1.0% for traditional implants at 1 year. Periprosthetic joint infection rates were also significantly lower. Cognito Therapeutics, 105 million Series C funding, closed an oversubscribed financing round led by Morningside Ventures. Funds will support pivotal data readout, FDA submission, and the 2027 commercial launch of Spectris, a non-invasive neuromodulation device for Alzheimer's disease. Corporate developments: Sarepta, Elevidys Japan launch, milestone. Chugai Pharmaceutical confirmed the commercial launch of Elevidys in Japan in late February, the country's first regenerative medical product for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Sarepta is eligible for a $40 million milestone payment. Viking Therapeutics, Leerink Conference. Strategy kicked off its presence at the Leerink Partners Global Healthcare Conference, highlighting its dual amylin calcitonin receptor agonists as the definitive third wave of obesity treatment. Policy and Public Health FDA GLP-1 telehealth crackdown enforcement. The FDA issued 30 warning letters to telehealth companies for false or misleading claims about compounded GLP-1 products. Commissioner Macquarie stated, "It's a new era. We are paying close attention to misleading claims being made and taking swift action." FDA One Trial Standard Impact. The agency's recent codification of one pivotal trial plus confirmatory evidence as the default approval standard continues to reshape development strategies. Small-cap biotechs with robust Phase 2 data are increasingly viewed as NDA-ready, bypassing years of Phase 3 capital requirements. Read Full Analysis, Biomed, Nexus Pro, Institutional Intelligence Briefing. Today's Pro Brief: the Prasad succession trade, how CBER's upcoming leadership change reopens the regulatory flexibility debate for rare diseases. Sarepta risk. Framing: we model the MDA conference. Embark readout and the threat of payer pushback. Domestic CDMO premium. Why Lonza's 3B divestiture confirms manufacturing as a moat as the primary 2026 investment theme. Upgrade to Pro today. Read full article. Selective 2026 sponsorship placements are available. Reply directly to discuss a partnership or submit an inquiry here.